This is the Businesswoman on the Street segment, and today I am very fortunate to be able to interview Kelly Schafler, or Schaefer, I should say.
Schafler, actually.
Schafler,
You had it right the
right.
first time.
Good for us.
That doesn't happen often.
Community impact reporter. Kelly wrote an article that caught my eye talking about the groundwater, surface water challenges that we have in Montgomery County, in fact, throughout the state, in fact, in many places in the United States. And I felt it was important that we communicate and let business people know about that there is a concern and an ongoing issue about where we get our water. Water is in a short supply, really nationwide, fresh water. And so we're going to talk about that. Kelly, welcome to the segment, and I appreciate you taking time to interview with us on Businesswoman on the Street.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rick, for inviting me here. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate the chance to get to do something like this.
Well, to start off, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you become a reporter with Community Impact?
So I've been working with Community Impact since June 2017, so coming on a year and a half now. Before that, I worked at another community paper, and I've always wanted to be a journalist. I studied at the University of Houston, and so here specifically at Community Impact, I'm the Conroe, Montgomery area for that paper. So I cover education, city government, and so this definitely is an interesting topic, and it's something that took a little bit extra time. Even as a monthly paper, you know, I started researching this. It's been ongoing pretty much since I started, getting bits and pieces of this ongoing story to try to get a better idea of, like you said, the conversation, the controversy surrounding it. And so hopefully I did a pretty good job, at least on this story, giving our readers an idea of just the basis of the different sides of the argument.
Right, and it's an important argument. And why is, just generally speaking, water an issue in Montgomery County?
It really became, I think, a topic of conversation back in 2015, and even before that, really. 2015 is when a couple different lawsuits started. But I think it's become a topic because, you know, I think it began with, you know, residents and business owners and, you know, city government officials looking at their water rates and, you know, seeing a change. I think that's really when our residents mainly started becoming a little bit more involved, a little more vocal, because they were seeing different changes in their water bills. And so that, of course, stems from, you know, the different management district that we have here. The Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District is the groundwater manager in Montgomery County. And so they cover the whole Montgomery County area, and they lease out permits to individuals, businesses, permittees who want to utilize groundwater. So back in 2015 was when the lawsuit was taken out. The city of Conroe took out a lawsuit against the Lone Star Groundwater District over the way that they were regulating groundwater. Now, the way that they were regulating groundwater began quite a few many years actually before that, because the district as a whole, they were created in 2001, and in 2006 they created a standard that was a way for them. They created like regulations that said by a specific time period, large volume groundwater users, which involves the city of Conroe, needed to reduce their groundwater usage by a certain percent. So the municipalities and other large volume users, which, like I said, is City of Conroe, the Woodlands as well, other large volume users in our county, they had a certain amount of time to create a groundwater reduction plan. Because, of course, the district argues that they're trying to manage the groundwater resources and conserve water because there is a limited amount of groundwater resources available, you know, just across the state, like you said. So they created the regulations, and the city, as well as all other large volume users, started looking at how they were going to use alternative water resources to reduce their groundwater usage. And so that, of course, opened up the door for different management plans to be created, different groundwater reduction plans to be created to find alternative ways.
Well, and what this is and the reason, and I want to get your opinion of business people, they need to be aware of this. And why is that?
Just because I really do think that groundwater and surface water, I feel like on an average day-to-day basis, maybe the average resident does not think about how I'm getting my water. How does that, where is it coming from? How much does it cost? But it really is something that overall affects, people to come. If we, use too much of our groundwater resources, officials, experts do say that it causes consequences. But then it's also the regulations and the way that things are set. That's also been a point of controversy of, local city officials questioning of the way that groundwater is being regulated, of whether that is legal. And we did have a judge rule in September in that case that it was not legal.
Well, and the thing about a business, particularly a business, if I use a lot of water, say in a manufacturing process or whatever, I need to be aware of that. But the way I look at this issue from a business point of view is it's the success of the economy, and again, just focusing on Montgomery County, but this is true in many places where we have a growing economy, we have more business, more people, we have X amount, a finite matter of a resource, in this case water, and we have more and more people, more and more
Absolutely.
businesses trying to pull up to the table, so to speak, and eat from or drink from the same glass, and there's just not as much to go around.
Absolutely.
So that's a fact, and so businesses could get to a point where, well, Montgomery County's not friendly or doesn't have enough water, depending on how you want to frame it, and I need to find somewhere else to locate, or they may not move into this area. So it could be a really important issue, I guess, obviously for businesses that need a lot of water, more than bathroom facilities or wash down or whatever. Let me ask you this, though, there's this controversy in the groundwater district, the Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District. They manage the groundwater. Then you have the San Jacinto River folks that manage the river, the lake, which is surface water. And then you've got all the cities, which are you say large users. It's really the individuals and the businesses in those cities, the thousands
That
of them
create
that
it.
really. So they're really a bunch of small users.
That make up this
a
larger
big
utility,
user.
yes.
Yeah, so they're representing the public and the businesses. But I know recently that the groundwater district, and again, there's been the political, legal thing going on, as you mentioned, for a number of years. That board went through a major change. Can we just take a minute or so and talk about that, and perhaps what the impact of what that big change would have in this whole scenario that's being played out?
Absolutely. So since the Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District was formed, it was made up of 9 appointed members. So the appointed members came from different municipalities in Montgomery County. But with the ongoing lawsuits that were happening at that time, and of course with local government, local representatives even getting involved in this, I believe it was summer of last year was when a House bill passed that said that the 9-member Lone Star appointed board needed to be made of elected members. So that passed, and so for the very first time in November, this past November, we had an election where our residents got to pick and choose and have a voice in who was standing on that board. And so ultimately the board was able to be made up of, the standards were having 1 elected member from each precinct, so 4 members from there, and then also an elected official from the city of Conroe, a countywide elected official, and then also an elected official from the Woodlands Township. So that makes up our new 7-member board. And so this newly elected board, I mentioned this in the article, they did largely run on the platform of a reform of some sorts of the board of directors, of creating, having more accountability, I believe, and being more transparent is what a couple of the different board members ran on. And so with this newly elected board, I think that residents are feeling, from what I've heard from them, what they've said to me is they're feeling a little more confident, and they know the people on the board. They're neighbors. So I think they're feeling a little more confident that their voices are going to be heard, and that the board members, they know that they're seeking change in the regulations and they're seeking change in the way that it's being run. So I think that readers are feeling, readers and residents are feeling good about that.
Well, that's a really positive thing. And in the couple of minutes we have left, two things I'd like to cover if we could. One is, it seems to be that the heart of this dispute is really more or less, and I know there are other issues, but a battle of experts. Mm-hmm. A certain group of experts say this, a certain other, which is not unusual in a court situation, in a business lawsuit, so to speak, because it's a function of how much water's there and how long it will take to deplete or to reach critical areas. Any comment on that? I mean, it's not to pick a winner or loser, but this seems to get way too complex for the average person to really follow.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, it was even complex for me. I'm, more than anything, I was just trying to get down to the crux of the discussion and figure out, the truth. Because as a journalist, we are unbiased. We just want to figure out facts and educate people and educate ourselves. So yes, it very much was from what I understand, it's been an argument of experts. I know that we've had different hydrologists say different things regarding the amount of groundwater that is available. But as of now, I think that it's moved a little bit past that, and it's working more towards, at least from what I've seen, it's seeming like the new board, the newly elected Lone Star Groundwater Board, is actively working to work with the water authorities for actually really the whole region to look at the methodology in which these regulations are created, to get down to the science of it, to get down to figuring out how much groundwater is available, not just restricted by county lines, but just seeing how much is available, how long does it take for aquifers to be replenished and to have have its resources, gaining more resources for everyone to use. So as of now, the Lone Star Board is working with other water authorities as part of this larger group that I don't want to get into too much because it's also complicated, but the Groundwater Management Area 14, it's full of water authorities from across the greater Houston region. And they're all working together to create a set of regulations that local groundwater districts can base their management plan on. Right. So hopefully, I think what the new board is hoping is by attending these meetings and from working, that there can be a new set of standards and that it can really get down to the science of it and figure out, how much water do we have? How much water is available? How much water can we use? How much water can we pump and who can pump it? And so I think that that's what they're trying to figure out right now.
Well, we've about run out of time, but you answered my final question, and that is kind of where things are. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like things have, use my word, calmed down a bit, which is good, and they're going to come to some kind of conclusion in problem solving, which is always a good thing for the citizens, for the businesses, because certainty is so important, particularly for businesses,
Absolutely.
To know for certain if they're going to locate here and invest here. So I deeply appreciate you taking time to really inform us up to date of where this issue is.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, it's been kind of a negative issue, and now hopefully it'll become a positive issue with, as I said, that certainty we need. Kelly, if people wanted to reach out to you and discuss the issue or learn more about it, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Absolutely. I can be reached at my email at kschafler@communityimpact.com, which is KSCHAFLER @communityimpact.com. And we also have like a general for our market email address that can be sent that's at comnews@communityimpact.com. So that's COM and then NEWS at Community Impact. So I can be reached there, and I'm in no way, like I said, I'm in no way an expert on this. I've talked to local experts and local water officials and city officials to try to learn as much as possible, but I'm still learning and I'm still doing my research. So if I don't know the answer to questions that anyone comes at me with, I will do my absolute best to, find out and get down to the answer. So.
Well, you've given us a good story, and folks, I appreciate you taking time to listen to this interview. And this is another segment of Businesswoman on the Street.
OneBestConsult.com. a community of small business owners where you as an owner can find answers to the most pressing business questions you have. Not sure who to turn to when you have a challenge in your business? Turn to the folks at onebestconsult.com. That's the number one, bestconsult.com, where you can always find advice you can use based on common sense business experience. Join our community of like-minded business owners at onebestconsult.com.